And this is this short gift that I made for exhibition. And it's actually a pretty, I guess, uncharacteristic Lovid piece in the sense that there's a lot of, it's using this special camera. A lot of the work I do is with um, synthesizer videos and abstraction. Maybe I can play it screen like this. Okay. So I'm going to just quickly, for just a couple of minutes, talk a little bit about the origin of this work. Guys, if I go to this tab, do you still see it or no? No.
Yes.
Wait, do you see this tab? What do you see now?
I see your GIF.
Okay, the same thing. Okay. So I'm going to have to switch to, sorry, I'm just learning how to use this. Oh, okay. So now, okay, this tab. All right, now you see this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the origin of the work is actually for a few years ago where we were commissioned, Lovid was commissioned to do a piece in Chicago. And at this place called Experimental Station, it was funded through the Graham Foundation for the Arts. And we were doing a research with a group of a youth group in Southside Chicago that had a bike shop. And what we decided to do is create a camera for them that they can attach to their bicycles and take it on like a long drive and basically bring back this really interesting looking footage. So if you can see, I'm just kind of scrolling a little bit through these images. And what the camera does is it operates in a sense like kind of like a stop motion, but instead of taking individual pieces, it does built-in software made by Douglas Repetto that make it like a collages it in real time. So we have these very long panorama with these kind of glitching, repeating moments. And so that was like a few years ago. And you can kind of see just like these cool things that happen with it, the way it repeats things. It's like a short video. I can play that for a little bit. I can just scroll through it. If not, never mind. And then I edit it into like a single channel piece that's very long and kind of slow. So that's kind of the camera, and I can show you the camera for a second. I have it right here. So this is the camera. And yeah, you know, I can, the cool thing about it doesn't have a viewfinder. Julian, you see? Have I shown this to you?
No.
Yeah, it's really cool. So Douglas really designed it so we can mount it on a bicycle. And so originally I wanted something that would be like a scan, you know, I had this idea of like, you know, when you take like a scanner and you move your arm or something and it distorts it. I just the ride in a way that wasn't just video or photography, but had a kind of a sense of place. So yeah, it's been really amazing. And so, and then, so that was a few years ago. And then since quarantine, I just one of the first things I started doing was just going out and with this camera, like in the marsh with my son, just like in the yard. I can try and see if you want. Show you. I put a couple of things. What would happen if I did this? Let's see. Okay. Cool. Okay. So, you know, this is from the first. Actually, this is from the piece in the show. This is what the original file basically looks like. It's these really long, and we went out with like a mirror in the woods. And
I've seen the file system, not the actual. I've seen your like binder, not an image.
Yeah, you can kind of see it in the piece at the Well Now show. You can see these images from it. But yeah, I've just been working a lot more with it in the past years, a couple of years. Oh, this is a cute one with long he's been a little bit my collaborator. So I'm like, here, hold the mirror, and then we're just going in the woods. And you see, it's kind of cool. We have this like repetition, right? Of,
The image is not showing up, Tally.
oh, it's not showing up.
No.
Okay.
Just
Oh,
something
you can
else
see my folder.
it's like the image is not
Okay.
completely loading on the side or something.
Got it. Okay. 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 Let me see. Um, do you want to? Well, I can try to do this. Do you want to see one more time? We're gonna have a weird effect.
Yeah, maybe just open the.
How about this? Is this better?
Oh, nice! I love that.
Yeah, we have a good feedback. Can you see the image of Lom walking in the woods?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay, so we're having a glitch that I cannot do anything about at this point.
I think it's because of the voice.
That's okay. I think I just don't know how to share something from my screen, but maybe you'll be luckier to do it than me. So that's pretty much it. And if I can't show them, I'll try to figure out. If you figure out how to show something from your Finder, then I will try it afterwards.
I will try. Can you? Can I ask you a question about that camera? So is it like a slit scan? Is that like the technology that it is, or it's a different?
I think it's some kind of. Oh, it is like there's a kind of a GoPro in it.
Okay.
Some kind of a camera, and there's a whole kind of system here and the power. So I don't know what camera he used. I think it's really the custom part is really in the software.
Right.
It's the camera repurposed from some previous. It's pretty like low res, but the way the software works, and I've been now that I'm working with it more. I'm starting to kind of, even though it was a viewfinder, I'm working on a much larger piece. Playing with like light and different things that affect it. I'm learning how to use it as a kind of almost like a performance, like a part of your body, because you can't like look and see, and you can't stop and start it. You have to like go on your mission and kind of collect your footage at the end of it. It's like a tedious process. It's not, so that's kind of fun.
I like the idea of your recording as a mission.
This is a recording mission. Yeah. I'm also, what's that?
Is this what you were using? I know you did a residency recently at Wave Hill. Is that, were you using that camera?
Yes, I was.
The images you're taking there?
Yes. I have a couple of, I was extensively using it there. I'm just reaching out to show you some photos since I can't share my desktop.
There you go.
So you've seen that? I want to know. Yeah. So I did do a lot. I've been using this camera a lot. And as I'm using it, I'm learning the potential. And of course, I crop it. I have this long thing and I'm cropping it. And so the animation in the exhibition is several of these long panoramas cropped and like flickered and looped and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe we can go back to the idea of like under quarantine life. Maybe you're in a very different place. But for me, it's a lot about working small and kind of immediate, kind of one day adventure rather than like long things. But I know you're maybe doing something else.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to think about the future when we don't know what's going on.
So yeah, that's that. Let's move to your project, which in some way actually this is maybe these two pieces of ours are relatively more in dialogue than previous works that we've done. There's a kind of landscape, thinking of landscapes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do a lot with landscape. Unlike you, it's actually interesting to see trees in your work because I'm trying to share my screen while I talk here because I'm more accustomed to seeing your abstract works that, flicker is a big part of it and color and pattern and shape. And my share screen button is not working. Oh, here we go. Everything's just slow today, I think, in life.
Maybe we just need to slow down in general.
Everything's really slow.
But I don't see your share screen.
I'm working on it, Tally. It's coming slowly. Can you see it now?
I see it. Yep.
You do? Okay, I don't. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Now I see it. I love this piece.
No, okay, I don't see
That's
it.
when I first knew about your work with this.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just put
Yeah,
this. Okay, is it showing up? Because I can't see it.
Billy Bob is showing.
Okay, so I just put that up to say that I used to do a lot of net art a long, long time ago in the early to mid 2000s. And I don't really do that anymore. This is a very sad, as you can tell, piece called Me and Billy Bob, which is from a long time ago, 2003. And you can look it up if you want to. I'm not show it to you, but I did want to. Can you see this now?
Yes, and this is a very. This is.
Okay, so I have a
We're doing the
history of
sequel.
drinking whiskey with people that I care about,
Mhm.
including Nick Offerman, who everyone cares about.
Mhm.
That's also something you can find online. Maybe I'll just play for 1 second while I talk. But I, maybe unlike Tally, usually do work from um, representational imagery. Tally, a lot of your work is, as you said, not representational. Mine is, and I'm often like borrowing images or stealing images, depending how you want to think about it. But this piece is 44 minutes. I'm not going to play it for you. But you, if you are, feeling lonely in this time of quarantine, apocalypse, and you want to hang out with Nick and I know it looks like he's a still image, but he's not. He's there. He blinked. Moving slowly. If you want to hang out with us one night, it's a 44-minute piece, which can be looped eternally, I suppose. It does get a tiny bit interesting at moments, but it's a calm piece. But it's a Yule log video. And it comes from an ad that Nick Offerman did for Longyearbyen, which is a whiskey brand. There, a little bit of advertising. But I'm going to try to play this. I'm not playing it off the. Oh no, sorry. This is my gift. There, can you see that?
Yeah.
That's showing. This is the GIF that I have in the Now What the Fuck show. And it's based on, it's like a clip taken out of a much longer video, 12.5-minute video that I shot in the Arctic in 2017, although I shot it in 2017 and have been like working on it really slowly. Only because it's complex and because it's a kind of complicated landscape in a way to work with. This was part of a residency in Svalbard called the Arctic Circle Residency. And maybe I'll just play this a little bit while I'm talking. So this is also a short excerpt from the video. And it's the residency called the Arctic Circle Residency is on a boat in the Arctic.
Such a dream.
Way above Norway. I mean, it's stunningly beautiful, but also like heartbreakingly sad because the landscape's changing. I mean, these feel like really ghostly, these images to me. And the residency involves 30 artists and scientists on a boat together, basically an expedition of ecotourism in the north. So it's complicated to kind of be there and think about this place in that way. And a lot of the artists that I know who went and writers and other people who went have talked more recently about like taking a really long time with the imagery to figure out what to do with it. We all kind of shot the same stuff. We were all in the same places together. It's a very kind of organized project where you land together in a landscape, and then you go back on the boat, and then you land together. So you have kind of a limited view in a way. So then you take all these images home, and what do you do with that? So for many of us, I think it's been a process of like trying to figure out what we want to do with this or say with this imagery. And for me, I mean, it's gorgeous, it's sad, but my way of working is like inserting some kind of humor or absurdity and little moments that are sometimes animation, sometimes live performance, if you will. Sometimes here we're seeing some glitch happening to the glacier. So lots of kind of manipulation of the footage. And then also moments where there's no manipulation and it's just a juxtaposition. So this is a 2-channel video that's playing right. I just finished it at the end of February and opened a show, a 3-person show with Marigold Santos from Canada and Barbara Friedman from New York at 5 Miles in Brooklyn, but it immediately had to kind of close doors. As we all know, this is happening right now. Anyway, the gift that I made.
I just want to say, can I interrupt you for a second? Just an observation. It's funny to hear because I've always felt that there was some connection and I couldn't explain between your older work with the kind of inserting yourself in these pop culture films and these landscapes. And you just said it. It's this kind of sense of loneliness, moving from the person with this projected icon to like these vast landscapes. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't feel lonely at all. So.
No, I know. I'm humor. Actually, it's like both together. It's like a sense of loneliness with a lot of humor and humanity. No, I think you just capture it in a really beautiful way, in a funny way too. You see the humor in it. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're really chopped up. I see you a little bit on delay. I'm sorry.
There's a delay. I know. Tully.
Wait, I have a question. So I didn't mean to interrupt you before because you were going to show. So you took part of this film and made it into a GIF, right?
Yes.
And
yes, the GIF for the exhibition. I'm like super delayed here as far as I can tell. Choppy. The landscape, which is it's a mountain, a hill, an area where there's a lot of coal, some coal mining, and this particular image that you don't necessarily look at that image and think of the Arctic, but it is in the Arctic. No snow or ice in that particular image. If you were to watch the whole video, some of the things that happen are that cacti appear and other plants that don't grow in the Arctic, and clowns appear. Some northern icons appear, like Santa and Ella from Frozen. Anyone who has a child knows what that's about. And they're kind of lost figures wandering in the north within the video piece. Inflatables appear and pop and float and hover. There's a blimp, all these kinds of things. So the kind of general message of the piece, if you will, is that the party's over. There are balloons like in the breeze, but no one's around with them. Clowns appearing on forgotten equipment, playground equipment, and floating down glacier streams. So, I mean, there's a pathos, but there's also hopefully like some humor.
Yeah. There is. It's really beautiful. We got a question from the audience, which I think kind of relates to something I was going to bring up, which was what is flickers, which is, I use that term. And so I'm going to try to say something about it. And I think it relates to maybe how you're thinking about it also. And then I can show a little extra thing. I just figured out I can just do something else to show it. So the way I think of flickers is that we have the speed of film, right? Which is like 24, whatever, 5 frames per second, which is what we need to like simulate motion with our eyes and brains because they can detect movement. And of course, digital technology is now is like higher rates of frame rate. And flicker is basically when you kind of over saturate that into changes between the frames. So instead of kind of having like a smooth way of doing it where you understand motion, you kind of actually saturate it between them or do something in different kind of ways that these kind of abrupt changes are very stark and kind of intense. I think actually I sent you recently a work in progress that I have, and your response was like, it's so flickery, I love it, but you might want to put a warning for someone who can't, right?
Also, I mean, Tali, you had you were in an exhibition recently, an online exhibition with auxiliary projects, and
Yeah.
we were kind of chatting while that was going on. It was a 3 hour or something program, really great
Mhm.
work. And one of the pieces that you had in it that I saw was called Wetland Americana. Is that right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And not maybe not at the beginning, but a little later on in that piece. I mean, would you say that's like intense flickering happening right there?
I use a lot of intense flickering in
Yeah,
my
I mean,
work
that
for
was
sure,
really
for sure.
beautiful, and it's like
And
it's
I'm
almost you can
actually,
almost, like, imagine sound.
yeah,
There's not sound, like, there's just this pulse and, intensity of color and, uh,
yes.
moving between images. I mean, you don't make videos in, like, any kind of classic narrative sense, like, there's constant changing images, and it's not there's no, like
Yeah.
there's I shouldn't say no, there's rarely a moment of, like, contemplation for the viewer. Uh, that's my
And I try, and even into some of simpler videos, I do think about it more. It is honestly just kind of what I enjoy, and it gives me pleasure. Like seeing these kind of films, I think there's a kind of like a visceral feeling. To me, it's almost, you know how I've been thinking, what is it called? ASMR, the
Mhm,
sound kind of.
mhm.
There's a similar thing that happens visually, I think, with like flicker or something that gives you this like satisfaction. They call it like satisfying videos
Right.
so there's something like that. I do have, if you don't mind, I just figured out I can share one quick thing that is a gift that I made that's related to the series that's on the exhibition and has maybe a little bit even more of a, actually it's hard to make it very flickery on
Mm,
gifts are hard to really to flicker.
yeah.
But if you don't mind, I need 1 second and
It's
I think I
interesting that
can.
you bring up ASMR because, I mean, I'm really interested in ASMR and some of the work that I'm doing, but the ASMR can have, like, a calming effect, and it can also have a
Right.
stimulating effect.
I actually hate it. I can't fucking stand it because I just like,
And it
I don't
depends
like
on the
calming
sensitivity
things.
or sensitivity to it.
Yeah, I just really wanna smack someone. But, can you see this thing that I'm sharing, this animation?
Yes?
Okay, this is just another example from the same series that I've been working on. But I was also thinking, of this idea of flicker and frame rate in relationship to your piece, in the show and taking something that's time-based and has, like a real film quality to it, to like compressing and taking
Mhm.
parts of it and kind of looping it, and what was that like? Um,
It's interesting because, as I said, I mean, I used to make, um, art that was specifically designed to be on the web, and it's been a long time since I've done that, and now I work with video, high definition, and I really, love the sort of crafting these beautiful compositions and color. And I'm drawing now too, which we'll talk
mhm,
about later.
mhm.
But I know we're both drawing, which is kind of an interesting quarantine solution. But um, to kind of to go from that to the broken, low res kind of image, actually, I was anticipating being horrified by it, but I really like it. I mean, I am also I have this background in making, you know, much lower resolution images and thinking about making work for the internet. And I do actually really appreciate. I really love. I mean, I love when gifts break apart and they break their color into these like craft
Mhm.
gradients. They're gorgeous.
Yeah,
I appreciate looking at it. So it's just a different thing, and
yeah.
you can't kind of
And and
compare.
correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we were lucky to show, actually, we used to, in the old world, host some salons at our house on Long Island,
Mhm.
and we showed your films here, last
Mhm.
spring, whatever. And there is a quality for them where you can sort of spend as much time or as little time as, I mean, there's all these narratives, like you said, if you spend a long time with it, but it is kind of like being in a natural environment where it's not going to come to you in a certain way. I
Right.
really like that, and so I can see how it actually translates totally fine conceptually, even to
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I've been making video for a long, long time, and I've been making kind of in the way that the piece I showed you you a little clip of season that I shot in the Arctic. They're longer narrative. Some of them are like 48 minutes, 25 minutes, but they're not narrative in a traditional sense either. They're really just come and go. And I mean, I've watched audience members sometimes watching them over and over again, so you can get into it and watch it over again. They're meant to be somewhat immersive in the kind of media sense, but they are immersive in that you can get into them and get into that kind of place in a way. But you can also just walk in and watch for a GIF moment, you know, and just there are series and you can watch for a minute or watch for a second, and that's fine too.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And I mean, I think a lot about my work in that way. And we got a little comment from Faith, who says she's been thinking about, I've been thinking about these same things, hands and landscape, touching, ASMR, working on something like this too. Can't wait to see it. But also, you know, it's this idea of us being, you know, kind of backgrounds in film or video or photography and coming of age as artists in some way in the internet early internet age and how that might affect our approach to filmmaking and video. I think that's also something I haven't thought of until a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also reading Faith's comment. I wish I could quickly find it, but I can't. But I have this video. So I'm actually supposed to be in residence right now on not Long Island, Rhode Island. It's the whiskey talking. Governor's Island. I am doing this LMC residency on Governor's Island, which is beautiful. I mean, I love it there. I'm just absolutely heartbroken that I can't go anymore. But one of the things that I was working on there, no, I can't find it quickly enough, but is I'm like, and I've started it in Scotland last summer, where I am like stroking moss, like little close-ups of moss. They're like little pets, just like hands on moss, and it's very sensual. And I mean, I think it's very erotic. It may be like, it may also be totally cheesy and stupid, and I'm all for that. That's great too, but it's like kind of I mean, it is kind of ASMR too, because it's just the sound of like the little crunchiness or the squishiness, and it's just hands. And anyway, that's for
no, I love that. And at some point we were like, I was in residency at Wave Hill earlier in the year, and we were like, let's do a collaboration. I was just like making out plants. I totally get it.
I'm still completely up for that. As you know, Tally, we have a lot of plants. I'm like,
you're very good at keeping them alive. Yeah.
This time in my life, and thankfully at this moment in our lives and the world, I have it's like slightly a problem. But yeah, like we have to do a collaboration where we're making out with plants.
Yes, and I'm going to try to find this. Actually, let's see if I can show you something. This is a new project, a part of this series, but I was in my garden the other day. Let's see. I don't know if I can do it. Say something interesting for a minute while I try to figure this out. But I'm just going to see if I can. What?
After you find it, I want to ask you what you're doing right now, because
yeah.
I know you're working with your camera a little bit, but I know you're also making drawings that are somewhat based on your video, your video sensibility or your video stills.
Yes, I'm going to show it to you after I show you this amazing photo of. Do you mind if I show this one last image?
No.
Okay, let's see if I can go there. Okay. Can you see it?
Nope, not yet.
You don't see it? Okay, if you can't see it, I'm sorry. Sorry I distracted you. But
I see it now.
Oh, you see it? Did you see that crazy little mushroom growing in the moss?
Yes. That's great.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to share with that one. But yeah, so okay, so let's talk about what we're up to now. Why don't you start, because you so you are actually So you were supposed to be in residency. Are they delaying it? Are they pushing it back or anything like that?
I mean, nobody knows. They've been really communicative, which is great. It's the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council, and the residency is meant to go until the fall. But let's see what happens. You know, we don't have access right now to the ferries and to the island, even though it's like the perfect residency to be social distancing at, because, you know, there's only usually 2 or 3 people there in a massive space. But yeah. Not going
So
there.
are you treating your time now like a residency? You're taking it because you don't have any teaching responsibility semester, so it seems like you're working a lot. So tell us a little bit what you work. Tell me.
Yeah, well, I was meant to be working on I mean, I have a couple of other residencies that are shorter, far away residencies that got postponed, and one got probably canceled, but we'll see. And then personal trips too that I had just planned to be shooting, because I mean, my work now is like the Arctic project I showed for a second. I go somewhere, usually to some kind of remote landscape location, and film and work either with local actors that I find, or just work with nature itself. And then I come back and I edit for a long time and manipulate that footage in any way. But I can't do that right now. And I mean, I've just been kind of taking it as it comes, one day at a time. I have been drawing though.
Yes.
And like somewhat of a drawing practice. If I can just share a
Show
screen
some
for
stuff.
1 second. I've been
And the
drawing.
drawings are related to your landscape projects, yeah?
My what?
Your drawings are related to the landscape series.
They are, yeah. Wait, sorry, I'm having. Share screen. So yeah, the drawings are related to the landscape, and I haven't been drawing for a long time. I used to draw, but I've started drawing again recently as kind of, I mean, I'm not drawing the same thing as the videos necessarily, but I'm making drawings that are kind of companion and not like a side note to the video, but their own, kind of with their own weight related to the video pieces that I'm making. So this, I'm not sure if that's working.
Yes, working.
Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this, oops, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. No, not that. Okay, what am I sharing right now?
I could see some kind of ice, like I actually can't tell. I mean, I can tell the imageries of kind of shattered ice, or like an ice. Like, is it a drawing though?
It
Yeah,
is
it's a drawing. Okay. Arctic Dreams 7.
Yeah, sorry, trouble. Okay, yes. So these are kind of like negative space drawings. I'm like drawing on the space around the ice. So these are kind of they're based on photographs and, or depending on the particular drawing, memories of being in the Arctic. And I've done like a few projects in the Arctic, but they are pencil crayon on paper and watercolor on paper drawings. Here's just an installation view. So these are.
I don't see. I'm still. Well, whatever. Do what you need to do.
Okay, whatever. You're saying whatever you're saying. It's fine.
Can you bring that big one that we were looking at the other day?
Well, I don't have one of those are in a show right now that I can't even get to.
Yeah.
But so forget the ice. That was a thing, and I did that. That's done.
No,
And
it's great. I just can't see. I'm like stuck on that one image. Yeah.
So what I'm doing now, those are like, that's a past thing. Are you back on me yet? Yes.
Yes.
So what I'm doing now, and I think I'm going to try to actually like physically show this to you. What I'm doing now is making, can you see that?
Yes.
Drawings of holes. So they're holes in the ground. This I'm just kind of in the process of holes in the ground. There are holes in kind of unwieldy holes in ice. Back to ice a little bit. Holes in ice. holes in snow, holes in all kinds of things, mostly in the ground. And maybe just one more, I'll show you. And they're pencil crayon drawings. They're like very realist kind of, although maybe graded in some ways. And then I'm titling them with different like phrases relating to the word deep. So actually this one is called Deep State. And another one, the one I'm working on right now, is called Deep Trouble, Deep Fake. And I mean, part of that's kind of come as an afterthought, but part of like thinking of like what we're into right now, what's going on right now, and politically, what's going on right now globally, what's going on with our with the quarantine and virus. And I've always been scared of holes. I mean, it's probably a common
Oh,
fear.
really? Oh, interesting.
A lot of my work is about fear and horror and things that I can't really deal with personally. But so thinking about like being stuck in a hole, falling down a hole, and so being trapped, claustrophobic, caves, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm thinking with the holes. So I mean, it wasn't planned this way, but it feels now that I'm like fully into it. I think I've done 8 holes now, like I'm sort of before for what's happening. For what's happening.
Wait, I gotta ask, is it sexual too?
Like
Is it a
home studio drawing holes? It feels like I'm hoping to tunnel out or something like that.
Did you hear my question, or was it in delay?
No.
I have to ask if there's a sexual component to it at all.
Oh, well, I mean, that's kind of natural. Yeah, I mean, not intentionally, but you can't avoid that.
Well, that's what I was asking, if it was intentional or not.
It's not intentional. It's not intentional, but then like I look at this one.
Yeah.
And like the little soft bits and like the layers, and it feels kind of fleshy. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's kind of intentional. I'm listening to a lot of like audio podcasts while I'm doing this, and I'm thinking about all kinds of things. So it could be like
kind of cool. There's this idea that like I don't know what age of children development, like young boys are just like naturally building these phallic things, and I've never heard like the parallel, like of like the kind of female psyche. So it's kind of nice that you're doing something without thinking, like there's a kind of drawn, but anyways, I just had to ask.
Yeah.
You were also doing a digging in your yard project, like last year, right?
Yeah, no, it's a couple years ago. It's a collaboration with an artist from Canada named Linda Duval. And we each dug in our own yards. So she has an 80, I believe, maybe it's 80-acre farm in Saskatchewan, Canada. And I have a 600-foot yard in Bushwick, Brooklyn. And she came here and I dug into my yard a hole, a very, very deep hole over my head. And I went to Saskatchewan and she dug a hole in the beautiful, like endless flat prairie. And it's meant to be like a 2-channel piece where we're each digging simultaneously into the holes. And then, something slightly supernatural, paranormal, something I'm always interested in happens where we, I'm not going to say exactly what happens. It's a piece in progress. So maybe we, come out of the other hole. Maybe something else happens. Maybe